I never thought of myself as being particularly smart. I grew up in an environment where intelligence was frowned upon. When I was a kid, though, I loved science. All I watched was PBS, and all I did was read books. Both my parents are actually very educated now that I think about it. My mom has worked in the medical field ever since I was a little kid, and she's done various things within the medical field. And my father was an engineer. He worked in waste management. He worked for power companies. A actually, he's kind of a prodigy and a leader in his field. He literally helped build a new technologies that ton of power plants use today. But no one knows his name. He's a good dude. Well, he has he runs a nonprofit that helps people get engineering jobs and trade jobs and things that make people use their brains and their hands. And thinking about it, he never talked down to me when I was a kid. When I was 5 years old, the man is talking to me about nuclear physics like I am a peer. And I'm just like, Google, because I was very conscious. I didn't know what the fuck was happening, but I was conscious at a very young age. I remember everything that happened to me from the age of 2 years fucking old. I've never had a break from being alive on this fucking planet. Every single fight, every single argument, when a gun was pointed at my head at the age of 1, I remember that shit, and I had nightmares about it since I was until my teenage years. I wonder where that dream come from. I thought I was crazy because I was like, how do I remember something? I didn't know what a gun was at 2 years old, but I vividly remember being 2 years old and 3 years old. I remember being 4 years old. I remember being 5 years old. I remember conversations that people were having when I was 2 years old. I remember conversations that we're having. Like, I could understand language. I was reading my mom's books in her library. I would sneak into her library and read her books, and I'm just thinking about it now because all my memories are starting to come back because I'm realizing I had fucking dementia the whole time because my parents were scared of me too, because even though they were super educated, they had a ton of traumatic shit happen to them when they were young too, because their parents thought that their divergent traits were the devil, man. And I'm realizing that they thought that shit was demons, and they told me stories about it our entire life about how their parents used to torture them because they thought they were evil. Everything they did was evil. Their music was evil. Their taste in fucking food was evil. The way they walked was evil. The way they talked was evil. The way they sucked their teeth was evil. The way everything I did was evil. I couldn't do anything right. I literally couldn't do anything right. And they, tortured me until I started to do things the way they wanted me to do. So I was been conditioned this entire time to obey people, to be a slave. And my OCD has been so powerful, has been so strong that I've essentially been a slave of duty. And the funny thing is, I've been so attracted to media that has, that's dealt with slavery. It's why I love One Piece so much. And the funny thing is, when I started rewatching One Piece again, when I started to heal, because I started studying STEM about 5 years ago thoroughly. I've been studying STEM, like I said, ever since I was a little kid. I started studying physics when I was 4 years old because I was watching Bill Nye the Science Guy at that age. And I was reading my dad's physics books at that age, but I don't remember it because people gaslit the fuck out of me all the time because they told me I didn't understand things that I clearly understood, and I was keeping up with them in conversations that I shouldn't have been able to keep up with them. I was literally talking to my dad about quantum mechanics and physics when I was in elementary school. I was contemplating the existence of God when I was in elementary school. I remember I asked my parents about God and just questioning them at a very young age about very complex dynamics within religion. My dad used to beat and torture me to program my body to get me to obey him. He would even do it harder if I resisted. If I cried, he would hit me even harder. And he didn't hold back. Like I said, when he talked to me, and he did not hold back when he beat me. He beat me like I was a grown man. The first time he beat me, I was 5. I remember it vividly. I was stimming in Sunday school. We had Sunday school outside that day, which makes a lot of sense why I was stimming. I could not stop fidgeting, and the Sunday school teacher was mad. And the Sunday school teacher was mad, and she said, "Stop Stop all that moving around, Artavius. Not playing around. Artavius was my slave name. I go by Soul now. But yeah, she's like, oh yeah, no, stop moving around. You're not paying attention. I was paying attention. I needed to move around because stimming was the way I was able to process all that information in my brain at once. I absorb all of that information. My brain tries to process all of that information. I'm very well aware of all that information my brain is trying to process, and it fucking hurts because my body's not supposed to be consuming that much energy, but because I dealt with so much trauma, it's essentially created a black hole of information in my head. So since I was a kid, information has been flooding into my head, but because of the beating, it caused all of the brain damage and deterioration to my brain, that all of that abuse and coercive control and coercive manipulation and physical violence and torture, some of it water torture, because remember, they were hyper religious. They would give me baptisms all the time. They would give me exorcisms all the time for things, for having Pokemon cards. I got exorcisms. My parents, we weren't allowed to play with Pokemon because Pokemon was evil, because a preacher said it on TV. A preacher said Pokemon was evil. My parents were like, oh, Pokemon is evil. I remember it like it was yesterday. A lady from our church came to our house, and I remember just losing a lot of respect for my parents that day because they just believed it. She's just like, don't y'all know Pokemon is evil? Because I was drawing Pokemon on my own. I wanted to be I wanted to be an artist, and I was just like, I want to draw my own Pokemon. And so I had this whole cardboard thing, and I was drawing my own Pokemon, and she came in, she saw him, and she's like, don't you know Pokemon's evil? My mom's like, what? Pokemon's evil? And this is a very educated woman, mind you. And this woman that she was talking to my mom, they may have been peers, I think. But she was like, yeah, Pokemon is evil. It's like, can't you tell? Pokemon, poke as in stab, stab as in kill a mon, kill a man. That's what it's all. And my mom was like, holy shit, you're right. And I was just like, what? And then they have a Pokemon. I remember the conversation vividly. And they're like, yeah, Jinx. They have a Pokemon named Jinx, and Jinx is witchcraft. Evil. And I'm just like, Mom, are you really falling for this? That fucking day, they threw out all of my Pokemon cards. They took all of my games. They burned them at the stake. They burned all my shit off. And I remember my dad found my AC/DC guitar book, and he was like, Back in Black? Is this why you hit the sack? Is this why you've been too long and you're glad to be back? Cut years from a noose that kept me hanging about. My dad thought that was evil. Music literally saved my fucking life, man. Like AC/DC, my dad was there. That's evil. People telling you to stand up for yourself. That's evil. Yeah, of course he would think that was evil. Yeah, of course he would think System of a Down was evil. Fighting the system, fighting people who oppress you, fighting people who use violence to get what they want. Holy shit. Serge Taken was talking about my father and the government. But they made me crazy. But over time, I've learned to control that crazy. I'm still fucking crazy as shit, but the schizophrenia seems to be like stabilizing now. And I'm becoming a normal sort of me. The me that I would have become had I not suffered all of that little physical trauma. And then you have to consider all the physical trauma I did to myself because my brain was malfunctioning. So I was also self-harming, and I had religious OCD, and I was engaging in self-flagellation, hitting myself with whips, hitting myself with bats, hitting myself with belts, punching myself in the face, running into walls. 6 months ago, I literally had a near-death experience. I ran into 2 walls when I went to the hospital, and thank God I saw it coming because I was like, bro, I told my friend, I was like, bro, I'm having a psychotic episode, man. We gotta get me to the hospital. They're like, we noticed you've been acting strange. We've been monitoring you. I think we should go to the hospital because I've been learning coping skills. I've been learning how to recognize these things. And so we went to the hospital, bro. Not a second after I set foot in that place. The psychosis was just like, all right, dog, you're in a safe place now. We're going to try to kill you as many times as we can. And all my negative thoughts just attacked me that night. Every single one. Every single person who I've ever met in my entire life was judge, executioner, and jury. And they tested me with every vile thing they could possibly hurl at me. I was supposed to die that night. Had I not gone to the hospital, I would not be with you today. And it was a near-death experience. I talked to my family. I talked to, my ancestors that night. I talked to aliens that night. I talked to fucking God. And they're like, you are going crazy right now, but this is all part of the plan. You see, your cells are resetting your nervous system, and they are using this as a veil so you can, fucking survive this shit. Because what's actually happening is energy and vibrations and waves and frequencies are currently crocheting and sewing your brain back together. Because the damage your parents did was immense, but you stayed strong. You've been fighting this entire time. You studied STEM for hours, 12 to 16 hours a day, for more than half of your fucking life, and people still talk down to you. You have full-blown dementia. People still treated you like you were, they treated me like I was an imbecile, and I was sick, man, and they knew how I was when I was a kid. I could keep up with them, and then when I stopped keeping up with them, they started to blame me for it. They started to scapegoat, oh, you see this, you're lazy. They knew I wasn't lazy. I used to spend, when they would challenge me to shit, like my dad would beat me at Tony Hawk, him and my friend beat me at Tony Hawk, they scored 10,000 points, and they're like, you're such a loser, Octavius, you can't even score over 1,000 points in Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2, you can't even score 1,000 points in Tony Hawk, and I got fucking pissed, man. So you know what I did that night? I went into my room, I took my PlayStation 1, the first thing my father, ever let me play of his, and I was just like, because he bought it for me, he said he bought it for me, but he was the one playing it, I did, but I took it to my room, and I started playing Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2, I played all night, bro, I played all night, every single night, and I grinded that game. I didn't look shit up. We didn't have computers or anything. I'm just like, I'm gonna learn this game from scratch. So screw it. And so I went into my room and I started playing Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2 all night. And then I didn't say shit. I moved the PlayStation back into the room. Keep in mind, I was like 7 or 8 at this time. And I put the PlayStation back into the living room so my dad didn't see it. And then, my friend, he lived 3 houses down. And he comes over again to play Tony Hawk, because we're the only ones with the PlayStation right now. So he comes over to play Tony Hawk. And, they start their thing. I let them go first. They're like, ooh, look at us. Ooh, look at us scoring 5,000. We know Octavius can't do 5,000. And then I get on Tony Hawk. I was like, oh, man, okay. Here, let me get this shit out my eyes first. I scored 100,000 points. I scored 100. They had to sit there and watch me land kick flip after kick flip after grind after 360 kick. They couldn't touch me, dog. They never played that game with me again. And then my friend across the street, that was my brother. That was my dog. That was my fucking Naruto, man. That was my fucking Vegeta, bro. That was my Ash Ketchum. Because he kept up like I kept up. We were fucking fiends, bro. We challenged each other to everything. And we did it for fun. We didn't care about being better. We just loved seeing what our bodies and brains could do, man. That's why I love... People always mock people who talk about, like, what do you call them? My brain is slipping. People who talk about anime battles and stuff like that. Fight statistics and stats. I love these people because that's what life is about. It's about being silly and talking about shit that don't matter, man. That's what I want to talk about. I like talking about random things. Like, my dream in life is to learn how to fly the sun around and collect planets and things from other galaxies. I want to go see Andromeda. I don't want to see Betelgeuse go supernova from here. I want to go to Betelgeuse and see it go supernova from a safe distance, man. The people here on this planet have no imagination. And that's why I've always felt like an alien here. I've always felt like an alien in human skin. I always describe myself as feeling like an alien in human skin because it was like nothing that I want to do anyone else wants to do, because I had psychosis. But I was also really smart, but everyone gaslit me into thinking I was dumb because, they were all like pissed off every time they would make fun of me because they were all jerks, that I was always able to just practice and then just become as good as they were, if not better, and I didn't care because I didn't have an ego or anything because I was like autistic and had this like pureness about me because I didn't think about it. I was very whimsical, I didn't know that I was offending anybody, I was just being myself, but people always held me back, man. I felt like the Flash. I felt like Dash from The Incredibles. And that's why I love that movie. That's always been one of my favorite movies. And I realize it because I relate to it so fucking much, man. Like, it's just like every time I express myself to my fullest potential, it's too much. Everyone's like, whoa, calm the fuck down, bro. Stop breathing. And I'm just like, and so I have had to stay still my entire life. I've had to stay still. And this is the first time in my entire life I've been actually able to use my body the way I want to use my body. I've been walking, going out of my house, or where I live, every day for the past 6 months at 4:30 in the morning. I wake up and I go and walk around the lake until the sun comes up. I walk around the lake and then I brainstorm. And I do bilateral movement exercises to stimulate my brain and create energy in my neural pathways using action potentials and the laws of physics and general relativity. Because the more motion, the more energy, the more gravity, the more attraction, and that's giving my brain food for thought. Literally, But people look at me like I'm crazy when I'm like moving around and dancing and singing. No, we're supposed to do these things. We're supposed to be super expressive. We are stars in biological form. So if we're not stemming and expressing ourselves to our fullest potential, we are hardly holding ourselves back and creating fission within our bodies. And fission tears you apart from the inside out. People look like, I know I'm not crazy for thinking about this because these are the basic laws of physics. But when I explain it to people, they're just like, you are beneath me. Why are you talking to me about physics? I'm just like, please stop looking at the color of my skin. Stop looking at my diagnoses. Stop looking at my, stop. I know I'm crazy because I literally am. I have schizophrenia, but just because I'm crazy don't mean I don't know what I'm talking about. The craziest people in the world have brought some of the most amazing innovations, but the people who control the world can't recognize it because they think they're better than everyone else, and we just want to live our lives. You know what I want to do? I don't want to take over the world. I want to walk in nature every day and talk to animals. I want to make bow and arrows from scratch and put feathers and plants and decorate them to my liking. And, I want to practice astronomy every night, look at the stars, map them, name them myself, and, come to my own conclusions about them. I want to travel on foot across the country. I've come up with this thing that I want to do. That's why I'm training my body so hard. I call it the 40 days, 40 night challenge. And this is what I'm planning to do in 2027. My goal is to walk this country for 40 days and 40 nights, my friends, and rely on the good old-fashioned Mother Nature and the generosity of strangers. I just want to discover this country for myself and learn to love it the way our ancestors loved it. We're fighting over this land, but the people who cultivated this land, the people who lived on this land for hundreds of thousands of years, well, tens of thousands of years, we're learning that they've lived here longer and longer every fucking time. It's just like, oh yeah, they've been here long. Wait, we're still finding evidence that they were here before we thought they were here. Yeah, we're still finding evidence that they were here. Yeah, but we're still treating them like this ain't their land. Yeah, we're still treating them like this ain't their land. Yeah. And then I'm supposed to sit back and pretend like that's okay. Like I'm, and then they act like I'm wrong for being like, yeah, this isn't okay. And you're just like, yeah, it's wrong. It's wrong. But they don't think it's wrong because a lot of people only think about themselves and they only think about, power and dominating and controlling others. And if you're not able to be dominated, they hate you for it. And now that I'm getting better, all the people who said they loved me and cared about me hate me now. And all I did was get better. I did what they told me to do this entire time. I did exactly what they told me to do, and they hate me for it because they were praying for my downfall. They did all those things to me on purpose, and I'm just realizing that now. I've been giving them the benefit of the doubt this entire time, and I should not have been giving them the benefit of the doubt the entire time. I've met my people now, and I'm meeting my people more and more every day. I'm so thankful to you guys for making me wake the fuck up and realize that, you know what? I might not be what they say I was. I'm not what they said I was. I've never been what they said I was. They were projecting. They've been projecting this entire time. I had dementia. I've documented every single step of the way. My TikTok shows my entire progression. My mind was deteriorated. You could see it in my, everything, man. I was so unhealthy back then because my friend was fucking exploiting me. And no one said anything about it because, yeah, implicit bias and racism and ableism, you know, good old fashioned America. I can't wait to get out here. I think I'm going to move to Mexico and help them build their economy. I like what they're doing over in Mexico. I heard that they gave animals autonomy this week, man. Mexico gave animals autonomy. That's what we do here. We don't kill flies here, man. We don't. We respect life. We watch everything we step on. We make sure we step in the dirt if we can, any way possible, man. We love life. We love for life to flourish. We want the air to be clean. We want the water to be clean. We want life and nature to grow and be nurturing. And this is how I healed. I went to my friends who were actually kind and nurturing, who loved me. And I love them, and we help each other grow, and we challenge each other, and we're competitive with each other, but we're competitive with each other in a healthy way because we want to see each other grow. And we want to see each other get stronger, and we're honest with each other. Sometimes we're more honest. Sometimes we're a little bit too honest, but that's what relationships are about. They're rocky. They're tumultuous. They're not supposed to be smooth. If you have a smooth relationship where you have no dynamics, no arguments, you're not talking things out, and you're not arguing, you're not debating, you're not challenging each other, you're not being like, well, when you did this, it kind of made me uncomfortable. You can do a lot of things with words and being just flat out honest. And that's the problem. A lot of people around me, they weren't being honest with me. They had all this resentment for me this entire time. They hated me all this time. They were putting me down. They were calling me stupid. They were calling me lazy. They were saying that I just wanted attention. They were saying that, I wasn't working hard enough, and that if I listened to them, everything, why wasn't I listening to them? 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 I was listening to them. I was listening to them. I was listening to them, and I was dying. I was dying. I was dying. I was dying. They were killing me. They were killing me. They were killing me. They were killing me. And I'm just figuring out because my memory is coming back. And thank God I documented all of that shit. I literally have 20 years of Facebook messages, Facebook statuses showing the nature of our relationship, showing how you have used and abused me for many, many years. I have talked to my lawyers, and amazing things will start to happening in the job who just discriminated against me and fired me because they thought I was just too weird, and they didn't try to accommodate my disabilities, and they retaliated against me when I reported bullying and safety issues, including a safety issue that could have killed me because the owner had a faulty food truck because he half-asses everything and is a cheapskate. And the thing wasn't wired properly. If someone plugged it in the wrong way, there are only two ways to plug in the fucking thing. If someone would have plugged it in the wrong way, they could have been electrocuted. The person who told me this, who was working on it, was so afraid to plug it in, he made me plug it in. And because I'm fucking psychotic and they know this, I told them about all my disabilities. I told them. I just fucking did it. I just whimsidaisically plugged it in. The dude just told me the thing could kill me, and I just plugged it in because I'm a danger to myself. This is why I can't live alone. And this friend of mine, he abandoned me in a gang-controlled neighborhood, bro, and I still survived. I think they were literally trying to kill me, and they were pissed that I survived. And so they tried to kick me out of the house that they gifted me again and throw me out on the street. And I was on the street for like 6 to 8 months, and I still fucking survived. And like, how the fuck does this guy keep coming back? I went back to the house they gifted me and they tried to kick me out of. And they're like, why the fuck are you back here? I was just like, yeah, because you gave me this house. I've been living here for like 3 years. You can't just come here and kick me out because you're having financial problems. Because my mind was coming back now. And before I couldn't defend myself, but I was learning how to defend myself. And they were so confused how I was learning to defend myself. It's because in that house, even though they abandoned me, I didn't give up. I kept fighting every single day. I studied for 12 to 16 hours a day for fucking 2.5 years, 1.5 years. When I was in that house, that's all I did because I was in psychosis and I was in OCD and I was dying. I felt myself dying. I felt my life draining away, and I was trying to survive by learning as much as I could about the nervous system and the human body and nature itself. I studied tons of different types of physics and chemistry, and I've been doing this since I was a kid, man. And I like my entire life, this has been my life work. I knew I was dying since I was a kid, and I've been fighting it. And everyone's been gaslighting me. And just like, there's no way you could have done that. But literally, I've been doing crazy shit my entire life. And people have been like, you're not doing the things that we're seeing you doing. I'm just like, I'm literally doing it right here in front of you. And they're like, no, you're stupid. We're better than you. You're beneath our feet. Go and die. And then they're like, yeah, he's the problem. Look at him. Look at how crazy he is. And it's like, I am crazy because you made me crazy. But now that I'm controlling the crazy and learning how to fight, my friends that I'm with now, they're teaching me how to fight. And that's why I love them. My parents, they taught me Christianity for a reason, because they wanted me to be helpless and defenseless. And that's what that religion does to good people. It makes us weak. It makes us meek. It makes us not defend ourselves when we should be defending ourselves, because it makes us turn the other cheek. I love you, Jesus, but some of the things you taught are toxic, and people use them for their advantage. They manipulate your message to get what they want, and they use violence to distract you from the fact that the psychological warfare and the psychological manipulation they're using to control you is what is actually killing you. The violence is to get rid of the people they don't like. The coercive control and manipulation is what they use to get rid of the people they really, really don't like, but can't do what they're doing overseas to. So they can secretly get away with shit and call it, they call you a welfare queen, call you, every name in the book, call you lazy, even though you've been helping build the country for, for hundreds and hundreds of years. And they, but they say you can't be, the things that you're feeling are wrong. Listen to our doctors. They know everything about everything. Listen to the scientists. They know everything about everything. Listen to the politicians. They know everything about everything. Even though we see the entire world that they've been in charge of for hundreds of years go to shit, they're blaming all of us for that. They had the reins for 400 years. Our ancestors had the reins for tens of thousands of years. They had it for 400 years, bro, and they fucked it up. So many times, too. They couldn't even get it right when they did it in Europe. They're just like, they almost destroyed themselves. And I'm talking about the elites, man. That's what I'm talking about, the elites. The people are cool in my book. I love the people individually. Individually, I love you all with affection unspeakably. But collectively, you guys are just assholes, bro. Like, and that science says it. When people get into groups that are too similar to themselves, they become too full of themselves. And then they begin to attack the other groups that are different than them. And then they align with groups that are similar to them against the people who are different than them. And, sometimes it could be for dumb reasons, like the color of your skin, which is just how long you've been baking in the sun. But they're just like, nah, you're stupid. Even though, because you're so dark, that means you absorb more radiation. So if you absorb more radiation, that means your brain and nervous system is taking in more radiation. So you have more energy. And it's simple physics, but when you say it, you're not allowed to say it. That's because they're supremacists and they have to believe they're superior to everyone, even when their own science is against them. And it's not everyone, it's just the elites, man. It's literally just the elites. Everyone else just wants to be the same, but elites use racism and ableism and all of these isms to divide everyone. And they do it to every group. Look up what was it? It was a rebellion. It was one of the very first rebellions. Bacon's Rebellion. Look up Bacon's Rebellion. All the indentured servants, all the black people, all the Irish, all the immigrants, everyone was like, you know what? Fuck the bourgeoisie. Listen, but then they were listening to theirs. They were just like, no, ours is cool though. Our dude is fine. Our blue side is fine. He's gonna help us steal the land from the Native Americans and the rich people over there. So they were the indentured servants, because history is complicated. They both teamed up with one bourgeois, and they attacked the Native Americans to take their land. These were people that we today would think, man, these are the good guys. There's no good guys about it. It's complex. It's just immensely complex. And then some people teamed up with the natives, and then the other rich people, they teamed up with the natives. Because they had an alliance with them. They had an agreement with them. And Bacon hated that fucking agreement. He's like, no, fuck that. I'm going to turn the servants, the indentured servants and slaves against those rich and the Native Americans, and then we're going to invade and take over Virginia. And they almost succeeded, but Bacon fucking shit himself to death. I shouldn't be laughing. That's horrible. But, it's like people look at history, but when that happened, the rich people that won, they were like, fuck that shit. We need to separate all of these motherfuckers. And then they created a caste system to better control the population. And then over time, the caste system became more and more complex and convoluted. Then they needed a caste system within caste systems, so they built caste systems within minority groups. So they split back black people. If you look at the Manumissions Act of, I think it was like 1710, they created a law that gave black people their freedom if they pretty much turned to white supremacy. That's exactly what that bill did. And so, of course, black people were being tortured. You can't blame some of them for being like, I don't want to be tortured anymore. And they're like, please be tortured for us. Please be tortured for us. Please let them torture you so we can have our freedom together. And if you were in that situation and you were too scared, and you were more sensitive, other people may have a stronger skin. Maybe they had more resilience. Maybe that, you don't know. Some people are not able to sit there and be tortured. They have to do what they have to do to survive. And people did what they had to do to fucking survive. People do what they need to do to survive all the time for many different reasons. That's why history is so, you can't just look at it with your morals. You kind of have to be blind. And that's my thing about being autistic and being schizophrenic and having all the LCD and disassociate, all these things, all of them together, they just make me very indifferent to things. But I don't have any motivation to do anything but, I just like information. I just want to learn things. That's it. That's my whole motivation in life. And I like to challenge my brain. That's it. I like challenging my brain, and I like learning what my body and brain can do. I used to do that when I was a kid, and that's why I can do the things I can do now. Because when I was a kid, I didn't think I had any limitations. Or at least I was like, I wonder what my limitations are. And so I was always testing myself. And then I stopped testing myself because I became too good at things, because I was starting to catch on to things easy, quicker and quicker. And, I didn't know people actually competed with you secretly. I always competed with people for fun because my friends were also keeping up with me. We were all equals. We thought of ourselves as equal, and we competed so we can make ourselves stronger collectively. But then we moved from that area, which people would have considered bad, the hood, even though our mindset, we were just in a safe place in the hood. It was right in front of a middle school. So it just so happened to be the perfect environment to nurture good kids, because we stayed out of trouble. We just played sports all day. We had a field where we played dodgeball and basketball, and we were safe where we were. We had a few incidents. There was a drive-by. I had a bullet in my windowsill, but we were good kids. And I love my friends still to this day. I see them doing well, and it always makes me smile because he is one of the reasons I'm still here today, because what he taught me has been invaluable, and it's literally kept me alive this entire time. He's been my best friend forever. I had another best friend. I had a lot of best friends who I'm literally still friends with to this day. And they're all still, because I always have, I never abandon my friends. Once I consider you a friend, you're my friend forever, because I have a memory that even though it was deteriorating, my cognitive reserve, I guess, was just so immense. It just masked my dementia. But now that my memories are coming back, I'm realizing how massive my memory was when I was a kid, because I memorized everything as a challenge to myself, because I was bored since I was born. I literally remember from 1 year old, and people talked down to me then because, goo goo gaga, I couldn't speak. So I couldn't be like, dude, this is so understimulating. Can you guys please give me a damn book or something to read? I don't want to sit here and watch this screen all day. I don't like cartoons. I like watching people talk about boring things. I like watching space documentaries when I was a baby. I like watching my dad talk about science and engineering. I like hearing my mom talk about her medicine. In fact, now that I look back, they probably weren't even talking to me. They were probably talking to each other, and I thought they were talking to me now that I think about it. And I was just absorbing all that information, and they just didn't know it. And I was just sitting there just like, let's see. So if you take pi and square it by the... Yeah, I wasn't that bright. I wasn't that. But I was still a really smart kid. But I thought I was dumb because it's all so confusing. How are you supposed to know? Like, the brain is so complicated, and people expect you to fix that shit. Like, for years, even the brightest doctors have a hard time curing the illnesses that I had. It's like, they were just like, yeah, this stuff destroys people. You spend the rest of your life, a lot of times people spend the rest of their lives fighting all of these things. They're crippling. And then when I started to finally learn about them and, discover what they were, I started isolating my symptoms on my own. I diagnosed every single thing that I had on my own. And then I got all the doctors that I went to verify it, But I had to do it in a certain way because people are racist as shit and ableist. So they assumed that I didn't know what I was talking about. So I had to present it in a way so it was their idea. That was the thing. And I didn't know I was doing that. I was doing it subconsciously because I just got so used to people talking down to me that, I just I adapted to it. So I dumbed myself down to fit in the world, and I just didn't. I'm just fucking figuring it out. But yeah. I don't, it's a weird world. I don't even know if I'm going to post this. I didn't really mean to even say this much. I was just venting because I've just been frustrated with it lately. Because now my memories are coming back. I'm realizing people treating me like shit for nothing, man. I just wanted to be people's friends. I just wanted to have friends. I didn't have friends. And then I saw other people having friends. I was just like, that actually looks really cool. I know I've been a recluse my entire life and dedicated my life to science, but maybe humans aren't so bad after all. And then I started making friends. And there was one friend I had in elementary school. He was my first friend. He taught me what friendship was. And then there was my bro, my second half, my Vegeta, my Naruto. Yeah. I don't know which one of us would be Luffy. Or which one of us would be Zoro. He probably has he's still out there. He probably has his own Zoro now at this point. Because he's a captain of his own ship now. We still communicate, but we're more like bros from a distance at this point. But I still have all the love for him in the world. I still think about him all the time. So, that's what being a bro is all about. Whenever your bro needs you, you got to be prepared to fight. For your bros and your sisters. I have a lot of sisters. I know I haven't talked about my sisters, but that's because my focus has been on my bro, because one of my bros betrayed me. And I was just like, I care about him still, man. And I know why he did it. I know exactly why he did it now that my memory's coming back. And it was for a dumb reason. He didn't have to do that because I would never betray him like that. He was my best friend and my brother. I was in psychosis. I didn't even know who I was. But, I would never, I would never try to do anything malicious to my brother, but, I guess he didn't understand what was going on, and he blamed me, and got angry and couldn't tell me why he was angry, because, he's a little bit of a coward, but I was a coward too. That's why we were really good friends, because we both scared together. We were both damaged and broken together, and we helped each other heal. But then once he healed, he was like, go fuck yourself. And I was like, oh, fuck. Okay. All right. Bye. And it's whatever. But, what happened. I still love him, but you can't just do that to people and think it's going to be okay. I have to fight for myself and get justice. And you can fix it by apologizing. That's all I want. And I want you to do it to my face. So, because you can't hide. I have a lot of information now. And now that my brain is coming back, it's just all adding up. I just want him to be honest with himself and his wife and his parents and his family and everyone else he's talked bad about me. Because I've been very transparent. I've been open about it on purpose. I know people think I'm crazy for posting on my Facebook and being dramatic. But I need to document it. I've been documenting and using my Facebook as a journal. 95% of the shit I post to Facebook is actually only me. Only I could see it. It's private. And I do that because I document everything. I've been documenting everything for literally my entire life because no one ever believed me about anything. I told my mom I had PTSD when I was a kid. I was like, I think I might have some issues. And she's like, no, you don't. You just don't love the Lord enough. I told my mom I had OCD. She's like, I've been working in the medical field my whole life. You don't have OCD. OCD was one of my biggest fucking illnesses. It was literally destroying my life. And she said I didn't have OCD, which is probably why she can't look me in the eye now. But it's not like I'm mad at her for doing that. I'm mad at her for not being able to look me in the eye. Because it's like, I'm not a bad person. I've never been a mean person. That's not true. The thing is, I was angry. I was full of hatred because they literally tortured and beat the shit out of me and gaslit me into thinking that they loved me. And that's not what you do to someone who loves. So I've had this very corrupted view of what love was. And so I was attracted to people who also had the same view of love as my parents, and I can now articulate that very vividly and deeply. And people still think that people are still taking their side, but as my brain wakes up and more information floods my mind, they're not going to be able to hide. And, it's time to wake up and stop gaslighting me and stop treating me like I am beneath you. I'm not beneath you. I'm not above you. I am myself. I'm just being myself. I just want to live my life. I just want to play Pokemon and play guitar with my friends. I want to talk to the guinea pigs and the birds, and I want to garden. I want to explore and then enjoy technology. I love nature and technology. I think nature and technology could coexist together, but you cannot bulldoze nature to make room for technology. They have to live in equilibrium because they're part of Earth. Technology and nature. Technology is nature. We have to integrate it in smart ways, not letting the dumbest people in society tell the smartest people in society how to build it, and then the smartest people in society, the smartest people in society, need to grow backbone and actually just be like, we don't need your pieces of paper to be the most brilliant people in society. We should actually just be the smartest people in society and actually whip society into, not whip it. No, that was the problem. Stop whipping society into shape. Just let society develop on its own. Let people be free to make their own decisions and live their own lives and be their own way. We need to revive the cultures that were destroyed by colonialism. That's the only thing that will save us. We have to revive every single culture. The traditional Welsh cultures, the traditional Sicilian cultures, the traditional Yoruba, learn all the West African cultures and religions. That's what helped me, Oludumare. I prayed to him many times when I learned his name. He helped me through so much. The Welsh goddesses helped me so much as well. Rhiannon and here literally saved my life. I still talk to the birds because of Rhiannon. Thank you so much, Rhiannon. And thank you to my friend who introduced me to Rhiannon. The gods are not, you don't use them the way people think that you use them. They are here to help us and guide us. They're not like these towering figures who are going to doom us to. They are figures of speech. They can be metaphors. They can be whatever you'd like. I still pray to the God. I just stopped fighting. I was just like, you know what? I am crazy and I love God. Since I was a kid, I always studied mythology. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to create a religion for myself where I just believe in every single God. So I created soul gravity, which is a religion that worships gravity as the one true God and energy as her source. She's a goddess. The goddess of gravity, I call her soul gravity. And her soul, which is the sun, stars are her soul. And stars give us consciousness. They filter consciousness. Her consciousness filters through the stars and they feed us her energy in pieces that we can consume. And they create planets to help filter that information too into consumable bits. And it just because of my brain, I see the world in such a different way, and people call me crazy, but it's just the way I see the world, and since we all have individual experiences, why is my experiences always the one that's wrong? Everyone always assumes that I'm the one in the wrong. There's every time there's a misunderstanding, it's like, oh, here goes Artavius again. Oh, here I go using my slave name. Here comes Soul again. Soul is a title, really. I use soul as a title to connect me to my goddess at all times. So soul, and then my name, I go by Link now. I go by Link. Soul Link. But Link is my actual name. That's what I'm going to legally change my name to Link. And I did this for privacy reasons because I don't trust anyone anymore after what was done to me. So I created Link, and I'm making Link my name as a barrier to entry. In order to get to me, you must get through Link first. You will get to know me as Link. I'm coming to down. Link don't know who he is. You don't know nothing about Link. You ain't gonna know nothing about me. You get to know Link first. You get to fight evil with Link first, and you get to take on the world with Link. And if he, thinks you're a good dude, and if you help him fight Ganon and save Princess Zelda, maybe he'll introduce you to my other names. Maybe you'll get to meet Soul. But really, anyone can call me Soul. That's what I created Soul, because Soul is the name my goddess gave us all. We're all Soul, because Soul is star energy, and we're all star energy. That's why I created Soul Gravityism, because it's very flexible and malleable. So so I can use it for literally anything. And since it's a deeply held belief, because it's scientifically verifiable, people can't give me shit about it. So now I can explain my disabilities using my religion of soul gravityism that is now backed by science. So when people try to gaslight me and tell me that my shit ain't real, I can point to my religion, which also points to verifiable data that they can look up themselves, because soul gravity is always protecting me. And soul gravity taught me how to protect myself in ways that people will not expect. People think I am not a smart person, but Link knows what Link is doing. Link has been doing this for years. You are no Ganondorf. You are no Ganondorf. You are no Princess Zelda, my friend. You are nothing compared to any of them. You do not compare to a Deku. You could not compare to a Deku. See, that's all I want to be is silly, bro. I don't care about like competition and stuff like that. You shouldn't be threatened by people for any reason. You shouldn't judge people by the surface level. People think that because I'm this big dude that I'm able-bodied, but the thing is, my body is shit. I'm a glass cannon. All my energy goes to my brain. My body is just a puppet at this point. I get bursts of energy where I can run, I can sprint full speed for about 10 seconds. After that, my body's done for 3 days. I sprinted the other day for 10 seconds, and I've been out of commission for literal 3 days. I started a job. They discriminated against me and treated me like shit and didn't accommodate any of my disabilities and almost killed me. But, that job burned me out in a month. By month 2, after all the abuse I was dealing with there, I was, having anxiety again. I started having psychosis, but now that I have that under control, I just have the hallucination symptoms and the pain that comes from the sensory overload and the stimulation from having psychosis, because my autistic traits and my ADHD actually make the psychosis hurt, and my brain simulates motion, so it hallucinates motion, and that's a lot of energy for my brain. That's why my brain consumes most of my energy and my muscles don't. That's why when I learned to use my brain and my nervous system, I started working out my brain and nervous system, I started to lose a ton of weight. I lost 100 pounds in a year. And, with very minimal movement. The first 6 months was because I was trafficked by a gang, and they forced me into labor. And so I was forced to work for them. And I lost a lot of weight going back and forth. Literally, they had me selling drugs and shit. Well, I didn't really sell drugs. I was more of a delivery dude. They made me go to like dangerous neighborhoods to go to get them stuff, and they made me drive them to different places. I told the police, and the police know about it. There's a current investigation going on. But before, I couldn't articulate what was happening because my brain was recovering. But now that my brain is recovering, my cells are beginning to colonize those damaged areas that the trauma had damaged in my brain. My cells are colonizing those areas, and my personality is developing. I'm becoming myself again, and the new me, because I've never been able to be myself. So this is the first time I've been able to be me. This is the first time I've not experienced, depression or anxiety or fear. I don't feel fear anymore in the same way. So it's just a different experience for me. But yeah, I'm getting too excited. It's kind of early, and I didn't expect to be talking this long, but it is what it is. I'm just learning, trying to figure shit out. But I got a brain scan when I had my near-death experience, so I'm going to go get another brain scan soon. I'm going to see if I can't. I talked to my lawyer, so I'm going to see if she can help me, because I really need help. This has been really difficult for me. I don't know what to do. This is so new to me, and, I've had people connect with me. I've had savants talking to me on TikTok, and they're just like, yeah, we experienced this too. So, and I never even would have guessed something like that would be possible. Because I've always had so many disabilities and issues, but like it turns out it was mostly because of the abuse I suffered, of people not understanding me and, tormenting me for being myself and being who I was, because they didn't understand who I was. So I'm glad other people have been reaching out to me and telling me that I'm not alone, because I thought I was alone this whole time, man. Now that the algorithm is putting me now, and I didn't even search for it, man. The algorithm is just putting me in front of people that are making me feel seen. So, I'm very thankful for my life, and I'm thankful to Soul Gravity and my friends who have helped me along the way. The power of friendship. We're all in this together, 'cause you're my best friend. Ooh, you're making me live on. Ooh, you're making me. I can tell that we are gonna be friends. I can tell that we are gonna be friends. You know what? Screw it. Screw it. I'm gonna end the video. Kinda out of tune, but screw it. It don't matter to me. Fall is here, hear the yell. Back to school, ring the bell. Brand new shoes, walking blues. Climb the fence, books and pens. I can tell that we are gonna be friends. There it is. I can tell that we are gonna be friends. Susie Lee, walk with me to the park and by the tree. We can sit up on the ground and look at all the bugs we found. Safely walk to school without a sound. Safely walk to school without a sound. Oh, I needed to vent. I don't even know if I'm going to post this, but I mean, it's definitely not going to be able to go on TikTok. That's usually where I post. I guess it's long enough to go on YouTube. Fuck it. I guess I'm going to post to YouTube now because I can't just not use this. That was a lot of info dumping. I need to keep this for my records. I've been keeping a record of everything that's been happening, documenting everything. So this is part of my documentation. So I guess I'm going to start using YouTube to document my long form stuff. I'll probably private it. We'll see. It depends on how people respond to it. I don't really need people in my business, but I need to be transparent for my cases going on. So that's why I'm doing this. It's for my protection and for my legal case upcoming.